Hi greedy 3Ders, today is the hottest day of the year. It feels like we're in hell. Link there, methinks, to this young man. And today I'm going to be making Hellboy. I will show you how I made him, where I got him from, etc, etc. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. Now this is the Gamebody HellBoy Bust, and as you can see there's been a bit of a faux pas in the printing. God knows what's happened, but he's had a bit of a split, so I'm going to be using this, the Army Painter green stuff, to fix him and put him back together. Now with this stuff you just take the blue, you take the yellow, you mix it really well till it goes green, and then you use it to mould and form into what shape you want and to fill those gaps. Leave it for a few hours and this goes rock hard, and then you can sand it down and get it ready for priming, which is what I've done here. I've just given him a spray can really of gloss black. Now don't let the gloss black put you off, it will dull down when I go on to the next stage, which will be the airbrushing. Over to the airbrush, as we said, and I'm using N Carmine Red for the base layer. Now I've put a drop of flow improver just to help it go on, and I've laid the model down, and I'm just going to hit it from the top going down just to make sure that I can hit it so that it looks like the red will be hitting the higher points of his body, and where I don't hit, which will be under the eyes, under the chin, underneath his rippling chest muscles, will stay nice and dark and black, and it's all about the effect of light. I've changed now to the mid-range tone, the pure red of the colour triad in the Army Mega Paint set, the air paints, and I'm just going to splodge it on the top, hitting his nose, his forehead, the top part of his chest muscles, just to change the colour up a little bit. Using the higher pointed colour now, the Archangel Red, and exactly the same process, usually as I do the skin colour, but this time using red instead of the pink, just to give it a little bit of shape and form and highlight where the light would hit and reflect off the higher points of his body. No change to how I'm doing the eyes. I'm taking the black and I'm going to follow the shape of his inner eye that would normally be white with the black, and I'm going to use a really fine brush and just some matte black Army Painter paints just to highlight that up. And I'm doing it for exactly the same reason that I always do it, to give the eye a little bit of shape, but instead of using white or a whitey coloured blue in the eye, I'm going for this, the demonic yellow, as is Hellboy's eyes, and I'm just going to go inside again, leaving the minutest of gaps on the top and the bottom, just to give a little bit of shade and shape and a little bit of eyeliner-esque effect to the boy from hell. Really take your time with this stage. You don't want to be ruining your red. It's not as easy to get it back. A lot of work has gone into that red, so take your time with a very small brush. Now there's not many teeth to be seen, but I'm going to use skeleton bone and a really narrow minute brush just to touch those teeth. Oh, this was a real tricky bit to do. I didn't want to get his lips all skeleton bone coloured, so teeth have had a very brief touch, and I'm going to go back now to Wizard's Orb just for his irises to make his eyes green on top of the yellow, and I'm just going to dollop it in. He's looking slightly to the left, which I wanted to do, and once I've done that I'm going to take some black, just some Army Painter matte black while his eyes are drying, and a brush that's a little bit raggedy around the edge, and I'm just going to give his hair a complete and utter touch over. I find using a raggedy brush really does help, especially with the edges. It doesn't make him look like a Lego character. Once I've done that, some red tone, one of the washes from the Army Painter, and a really narrow brush again, and I'm just going to go in all the nooks and crannies of his face, his nasolabial folds, the darkness under his eyes and above his eyes, just in the creases and the crevasses and the crinkles of Hellboy there, just to make a little bit more shape and shade. I'm going to go down his chest muscle as well, just to break up some of that red, and I'm going to just push it out either side and under his ribs. Now if you put too much on, don't worry, wipe it off with your fingers, as you'll see I do here. Just a little bit too much, wipe it off, job done. Now for his leather jacket I'm going to use some leather brown again from the Army Painter, a narrow brush just to make sure I get the edges nice and tidy, and then moving on to a nice thick brush, the one I did the hair with actually, just washed out just to get that leather effect on. I find that the leather brown from the Army Painter is a really good leather colour. It does need a little bit of post-processing work, and I'll show you what I've done there just to age it up a little bit, but as a base colour for some leather, it's absolutely fantastic. Now take your time with this part, and as you can see, the repair that I did, it's not perfect, it's far from perfect, but the end result would have been throwing Hellboy in the bin, and I didn't want to do that because it was only a little bit that had broken, so I've bodged it together as best I can, and you know what, it looks okay, it is passable. Right, back to the skeleton bone, and I'm going to use one of these dry brushes, and I'm just going to give his hair in particular a little bit of shape and shade. I am not turning him to OAP Hellboy. I'm just giving his hair a little bit of a light effect and a little bit of reflection, and just to give it a bit of shape, really. Don't put too much of this on. Use dry brush technique, and I'm using exactly the same paint and the same dry brushing technique just to highlight some areas of his face where the light would hit the higher points in particular, as you can see. Now moving on again to another wash, the soft toad, and this is what I was talking to you about with the leather. I'm going to use one of those dry brushes, the big one, and I'm literally going to splodge it thickly all over there. Get it on, get it in the nooks, get it in the crannies and the crevices, and really give that leather jacket an aged, decrepit look. He's fought a few demons as old Hellboy. We don't just look like it's come out of top man there, do we? Doing the base now with just some matte black, just to tidy up really. Nice thick brush, and making sure you don't go over onto the brown, and just touch up the back of it. Any colour you like here really. I've only used black just because it was to hand, and I think the contrast would look really, really good. But you could use bronze, you could use silver, you could use absolutely anything you liked. Okay, back to wonderful old skeleton bone, and this has multiple uses, and I'm going to dry brush now back over his leather jacket. We've darkened it. I'm just going to highlight some of the edges, some of the outer bits that would be naturally worn by time, and skeleton bone has a multitude of uses. Now his yellow demonic eyes need to pop a little bit, so I'm going to use a bit of Leho gloss varnish on his eyes just to give them a little bit of shine and reflection. Nice clean brush, make sure those eyes are bone dry before you put this on, and literally just dollop it into there, not around the eye, into the eye. Okay, back on to a bit of Martian brown now for his cigar, and fiddly little thing this, but don't forget it, absolutely important piece for Hellboy. And once that's painted brown, I'm going to glue it on using a little bit of super glue. I use Army Painter, but any old super glue will do. Pop it on and get it in there, and once it's in there, we're going to be finishing it off using a little bit of mythical orange on the tips, just to give it a bit of a burning, embery kind of look to it. And I'm going to just finish it off with a little bit of yellow as well, mixed in with the orange to give it that hot, flamey kind of look. Now don't forget, all the links to everything that I use to paint is in the description, and I am an Amazon affiliate, so some money will come back to the channel if you buy from me. Here we go, he's all done. What do you think of him?